Hello and welcome back to Amnesia: The Dark Descent for part 2. So last episode we woke up in a castle and we went up there into, I can't remember the name of that place, and we got ourselves some items. Specifically, we got a key. And the key is going to lead us down to the wine cellar. And the wine cellar is going to have the materials we need in order to make this concoction, this acid, in order to dissolve the red stuff blocking our way. The sand gave way to his tired body as he fell from the camel's back. He felt the wind gently sweep across his face and his dry, crusted lips. Again, I think this is just some stories of Daniel from when he was on his little trip in Algeria. I don't really know the context of one of those. There is actually, and I'll probably at the end of this, I'll see if I can find a link to it. There's actually some extra content that you can unlock in a special part if you beat the game. Oh, wait a sec.
Who cares? He left us enough wine to last us a lifetime. Or at least until tomorrow.
Okay, that's a little worrying. The game just told me how to hide from enemies, so we're actually going to go this way instead, because there's several rooms that we can go into. So as I was saying though, there's actually some little bonus content. This game has multiple endings, and if you get all 3 of the endings, it gives you a piece of the key code for each, and you can actually use it to unlock a certain set of documents and extra bonus stuff that tells you some extra material, including a story of Herbert, I believe his name is, who was Daniel's, I guess, professor who was assisting him on the expedition.
Oh, it feels like my chest is going to burst. Oh.
My God! Wilhelm, do something!
Accept it. We're not getting out of here.
How can you say that? Alexander, you piece of shit! Let us out of here!
Now, you might remember, in the last episode, we had a little bit of a problem, or rather, Alexander had a little bit of a problem, because apparently Wilhelm and his men, or Wilhelm apparently, were messing up kidnapping people for the Baron. And the Baron, somehow, his plans got noticed by the local sheriff, who was hunting and killing his servants, and Baron Alexander had to kill off Wilhelm and his men. So, first things first, this here, that's Aqua Regia. Aqua Regia is just a jar of it. I think that means royal water, and I think it's some kind of light acid or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but that's one of the ingredients that we need. And there's also a note here. Let's see. Wilhelm's last words. My name is Wilhelm, House of Garrick. These are my final words, confession and testament. Summoned to Castle Brennenburg. He was curious about what the Knight of the Order could want from him, accepted the invitation. The nature of the contract was sordid, and the reason I was chosen was because of the follies of the past and not the honors he had as a soldier. He was to kidnap healthy humans at the Baron's whim and do it without questions. This would allow Wilhelm to basically move up within noble society. Ever since, he's brought men, women, and children to Brennenburg, maybe even 100, none of whom are seen or heard from again. They were invited down to the wine cellar. He had his suspicions, joined us in a toast. And, yeah, my men are screaming, their skin has been pierced by their own tangled bones. I feel my insides revolt against their God-given nature. Blood has begun to pour from my eyes, and I can no longer, I assume, write or see. But, yeah, whatever Alexander did to these guys, it wasn't very good. And there's actually a theory that whatever these guys turned into, or whatever happened to them, they actually became the enemies that we see here. I think they're called the Gatherers. You can see, I mean, there's bits of viscera all over the place, there's blood everywhere, but there's a distinct lack of bodies. So anyway, let's go on out here. So that's the first section. Now we're going into here. This is going to have another component, and we can actually see... Yeah, you might have just heard that in the background. There's somebody whispering. You can actually see this here. Yeah, this was one of the little oil containers that I had, and we just got a little bit... I'd mentioned these earlier. They're large oil barrels, and what they'll do is they'll actually be more or less filled up depending on how much you have in your inventory. They'll pretty much always only say a few drops of oil or a little bit of oil for me because I'm going to be pretty well equipped throughout the entirety of the game. So anyway, let's go ahead and grab this. Alright, that's calamine, and that is just a jar of calamine. Oh, and now everything collapsed, and we got hit in the head with a barrel. That's not good. Daniel has some awful, awful luck. Alright, so let's go ahead, wake on up, and if you listen to the background here, I'm going to shut up in a second, you can hear the crunching of Daniel grinding his teeth. Yeah, that noise is not very pleasant. So anyway, we now have to escape out of here. If you do actually light up any of these items, every light source in the room will go out when the collapse happens. There's like a draft of wind that causes it. So I don't waste my time lighting anything when I'm in here. But anyway, so now, yeah, left mouse moving and left stick. Oh, right bumper moving, left stick to push. Yeah, so they actually, when the game came out, it didn't have gamepad support. I think that got added in when they did the update that added the hard mode. And also, this game does have, it's basically like a grab and a push function, so I'm using that to help clear these out. If you're not careful, you can actually end up getting this big one wedged further down in between it, and those make it really, really tough to move. Okay, let's grab these and get them out of here. So this was the second room. So then there's the room that was at the base of the stairs, and then finally the room where the game told us about monster encounters. Oh, perfect. There we go. And now I'm down to a slight headache, although I did take a little bit of damage. I have a few cuts and bruises. I'm going to eventually get some sort of healing item pretty soon, I think, and that's going to give us first opportunity to heal up. I probably won't heal until I'm at the point of being badly wounded, or I can't remember what it says. I think it's like I'm bleeding heavily or something. Anyway, third item. A jar of Cuprite. And the door just closed on us. Let's go ahead and let's light up this, and let's actually hide here in the corner for a second. Oop. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting a little bit of like a stuttery lag effect there. So anyway, Cuprite, which I don't quite remember what that actually is. Alright, well, we're gonna hop on out here. That is just a static sound effect. There is no monster. And now we're gonna hop into here. So let's go ahead, let's light up you, and let's light up you. Yeah, here we are. And down here, this is laudanum. Laudanum increase your health. And there is our first good look at one of the gatherers. And he just went right around the corner. This here is where most people, I think, end up seeing their first real vision of the monster. Because the other time that you see it when you exit the archives as you're leaving, you just get a glimpse for maybe a half a second or a second at best. That there, it's actually standing up, so that's why I wanted to get it lit. That's a pretty good look at the monster if I hadn't already given you one in the last episode at the end of the archives. Okay, let's go on. I'm trying just to gather up as much as I can here, see what all I can get. And then we're going to go back up, because I think, yeah, okay, we just need the fourth item, and that is just a jar of orpiment, which kind of similar to the other stuff. I don't know what that actually is, if it's anything special. Yeah, and you can hear like moaning and groaning all around. As far as I'm aware, and this is just going to be a little bit of a spoiler for the game, but we've already kind of gone through this. One sec. He sat down by the Cosmo wall, gasping for air. Sweat poured from his forehead and onto the sand-veiled ground. So anyway, little spoiler for this section. There's not really any actual risk to the player during this. Like, there's these things here, and they do a little bit of damage, but you can stand on those all days and they won't kill you. Let's see. After enduring 3 days in Algiers, a sailboat was finally arranged to take him across the Mediterranean Sea to Gibraltar. Having reached British territory, it's just a matter of reserving a cabin on SS Hortensia, headed for London. So this here is actually what happened to Daniel after everything, after he got trapped inside of the, whatever it's called, like the tomb or the cave, where he had to get rescued by Herbert and the Arabs. Alright, we're gonna head out here. So first order of business, down this way, there's just a breathing... This had just collapsed out, and there's a draft coming through here, and I think it's kind of implied the shadows on the other end. More importantly, though, there's some oil there. And I think in something like one of those, there might be a tinder box. Or I might be thinking of later in the game. Oh, yeah, and just kind of a little bit of a weird thing. So we only really hear about Daniel having experiences in Algiers, but those hissing cockroaches, I guess, are native to exclusively South America. So clearly Daniel has either been there or he's having some sort of weird hallucination involving creatures that he's never seen. Not sure how that would work, but I'm just going to go ahead and light up more of this. Okay, so we got that there. Let's, I'm going to do a couple of quick things. So, let's listen to this first and foremost.
There should be more coop rats. Let me see. And 1 part aqua force.
Okay, so we just heard Baron Alexander. He's been trying to do some sort of chemistry, alchemy, whatever you want to call it, and trying to make some sort of a solution. I think this note here is going to dictate how that went. So let's see. Early alchemy experiment. This is my 3rd attempt to produce artificial vitae. Vitae, I'm just going to probably pronounce it vita. Former compounds lack the potency, but since I'm close, calamine and orpiment are a given. Cuprite binds them together. This time I will attempt aqua regia instead of fortis in hopes it will produce a more even solution. Experiment was unsuccessful. It's highly acid and proves impractical to put to any use except as a detergent. Organic solution reacts violently and should be handled with the greatest care. Might be able to use the recipe, but I'm losing hope that I will find an alchemic solution to my predicament. So this here would be actually where we sort of find out what we need to do. We, of course, have aqua regia, calamine, cuprite, and orpiment, and what those are going to do is they're going to create an acid to dissolve that stuff. But you'll notice there is also something here. You might recognize these. These are very similar to the little memory jar infection things from Penumbra. So just a fair warning, it's going to be very bright here, so if you're watching this in a dark room, be prepared. So let's go ahead and see what's in this memory jar. One day I will return. If it wasn't for the thought of you, my love, I wouldn't be able to go on. When I find myself doing terrible things, I take comfort in you. As long as I am able to think of you and long for a life together, I know I'm better than the others. I weep for them. They lust for power without restraint, where I only crave fair judgment and a safe return. So that is our first key. Or our first, also, for those of you who are familiar with Amnesia, the infamous water monster, you can get a little glimpse of it in here. Anyway, that is our first hint that Alexander is not quite what they seem, aside from the stuff where they talk about him potentially being hundreds of years old. Alexander is not of Earth. He's not a man who discovered immortality. He comes from somewhere else, and that other place apparently banished him. So he's been here ever since trying to find a way to get home. So let's go ahead. We're actually just going to use all of these. Now, it is nice that they go ahead and they just automatically put it wherever you need. Oh. And now our way out just collapsed, so we're going to have to solve that in a little bit. Anyway, let's go on ahead here. I'm going to put this down, and let's turn these on. That's going to take all of these. It's a pretty simple puzzle. This, I think, is almost just teaching the player about interactions and such. You really just have to turn all of those, and then it makes the acid, and you're fine. But there is also a note here. Let's take a quick look. Chemical relocation, lack of which we need to properly vent the fumes, has taken its toll on my ingredients and storage. Let's see. I shall do what I can and move the rest to the wine cellar. So again, if you ended up in this area first, and it wouldn't surprise me because that's sort of the first door you really see that you can progress to, you would probably end up down here first since the other door required that key. Okay, what's on our mementos? Stairs of collapse, find a way to climb back up. So I can honestly say that for the first, I don't even know how long, like 4 or 5 years that I played this game, I always just stacked boxes to climb up. There's a very easy solution. You just pick up one of these, you carry it over, and then the game automatically deposits it there, and you can just walk right out. First time I ever saw that, I was kind of baffled and a little annoyed with myself that I didn't think of that. But yeah, that's a very easy solution to that puzzle. The cloth smelled of desert and damp musk. The pieces lay scrambled on top. Too many of them, he thought, or perhaps too few. Alright, let's take another smack from this stuff. Oh, okay. Normally I end up getting smacked around by those, but I guess I just got lucky this time. I've never really been able to find any consistency to them. They just seem to do damage if you're on them. But anyway, let's go on here. And that last loading screen tip was actually Daniel, and he was talking about the pieces of the orb he found. And that orb was something unique. It apparently shattered on him. Let's see. It became impossible to avoid. The commotion on the streets begged for his attention. As he opened the shutters, the French soldiers opened fire on the young men fighting back. Their voices were silenced in a haze of gun smoke. Yeah, so I think this is back when Algiers was a French colony or something. Oh, good, we're here. This is a fun place. Let's listen to these two talk.
It sure is dark in here.
Yes, and there's a good reason for it. But you can light the lamp now if you wish.
What's the reason? For the darkness, that is.
Stay close. Be careful not to stray.
What's the reason? Why is it so dark?
Pay attention, Daniel. It's important that you keep going straight and make sure not to stray.
Alright, so that was just Daniel and Alexander walking down here, and Alexander was being a little bit coy. He wasn't telling Daniel exactly what was going on here. I'm just going to go full disclosure, like, this area is dark as heck. If it wasn't for the fog effect that they put down here, it would be almost unnavigable. But we're about to go have one of our first real fun moments here. Alright, so that monster there, avoid looking at enemies too long, it will drain your sanity and you will eventually be seen. That monster there is one of the weird ones. That monster there both does and does not exist. So, for example, think if I go poke my head around there, the monster should be gone. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff happening all over the place. Oops, that's not good. Let's get inside here. I want to find a candle quick and light it up because I'm starting to blow through my oil supplies. Oh, dear. Hello. Everything's gone all red. Why is it all red? Okay. But anyway, as I was saying, that monster is a little bit weird, though. So normally what it does, if you stealth away from it, it walks up to that middle doorway that we were just looking at, and then it just fades away. It dissolves. We saw that happen a couple of times now with the monsters, including the one in the archives, where it just ran up to us and then disappeared. However, if you run up to that thing and you aggro it, it actually stays around, and it will chase you, and it will act like a normal monster. And more importantly, it can and will kill you. I've actually done that a couple of times just to try to... Hello. Just to try to see what happens, and it's not very fun, and it's really hard to escape because this is just a big circular area, and it can break down doors. I've never figured out what that means in the context of Daniel and his whole, like, sanity mechanic. If that means that the monsters are all figments of his imagination, or what. But, whatever. Let's go ahead and take a read of note.
2nd of June, 1839. It's been more than a month since my last entry. After the event inside the underground chamber in Algeria, Professor Herbert insisted I return to England. He said he didn't want to risk forfeiting the entire expedition lest I took a turn for the worse. An excessive decision, in retrospect. But I'm glad it turned out that way. I found my journal this morning in the haphazard collection of things brought home from Africa. Next to it lay the broken stone orb wrapped in cloth. I tried to assemble it, but couldn't. The pieces wouldn't fit together, as if they weren't from the same object. Could I have imagined it all? Was there ever a complete orb?
That's an excellent question, Daniel. Was there ever a complete orb? We'll go ahead and find that out later. But yes, Daniel sadly was sent home, and that's why he was getting on the Hortensia and had everything go on. Let's see, so there's a locked door. It's blocked from the other side. Let's check out a memento. Door leading to the back room is blocked off. I need to find another way in. And this, yeah, what happens is when the monster, it walks up to about here, and then it does a little animation, and then it just backs off. It immediately, what is it? It just dissolves. So that's not really fun, and What was I saying earlier? Yeah, still don't know if that means that Daniel is actually truly insane or what happens with him. Oh, hello. Yeah, and you can see now my sanity is at ... Daniel is clearly losing. Hello. Oh yes, yeah, this area, this door I think just slammed shut. So what I noticed though is yet another note. Let's go ahead and take a look and stay in the light for a
25th
bit.
of June, 1839. I feel the need to continue this journal, even though it was intended for my journey to Africa. This must be something very important. I just know it. I've taken it upon myself to piece the orb back together, but it's been more difficult than one might think. The pieces are behaving strangely. They seem to change color, shape, and texture, but ever so slightly. Yesterday, I took careful measurements and notated any significant markings. Today, I confirmed my suspicions. They were changing. I was terrified and rushed off to see the finest geologist in London, Sir William Smith. I approached the subject with care, and we discussed how rocks change form. He told me about the nature of glass, how it eventually collapses on itself, like ice slowly melting over the course of centuries. Smith eased my mind a bit, but I can't escape the feeling that these shards have otherworldly properties.
Alright, so yeah, that's another piece of confirmation. These shards are not just some magical, mystical orb. They have real negative effects. But we need to get through this blocked off door. To do that, we need to go through this. And this is just a little area that we can go through. So, funny enough, this is actually... I had tried to do a second hard mode run at one point. I got here, and as soon as that happened, I died. Because that's another sanity effect. But I'm going to go on ahead. Yeah, I got a few drops of oil, and the game is still being a little bit stingy because I have stem in my inventory. If I had burned through all of it, the game would have just said... it probably would have given me about a half a lantern full. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. And because I'm getting pretty tired of this, I'm going to try to do this puzzle quickly. So what it is we need to open up this hatch. And it's too heavy to lift by hand. And there's this thing here which we can't turn the crank. What it is there is a piece of wood up here, and we just need to maneuver that around. And that gives us... Oops, hello. There we go. Come on, let's go, Alex. Perfect. And that gives us the hatch opening. But there was also a chest over here. I'd like to stock up on it because we're now heading towards one of the more fun parts of the game. And this is going to be one of the parts that really kind of spooked the heck out of me. Sorry, just checking out what I had still. Alright, let's head on down. Yeah, now we're still getting chased by the shadow. So I don't know if the shadow simply can't move through this area, or what exactly the deal is with it. Well, let's read this quick. He crashed through the surface. The dark Atlantic water smothered him as he struggled to make sense of the situation. Yes, so somehow Daniel fell overboard on the Hortensia. Oh, and now we're in the infamous water section of Amnesia. So, I'm not going to run all over the place and try to solve this. What I'm going to do... Hang on, where is it? There we go. So yeah, the water monster goes wherever you last stepped in the water. It chases you that way. What I have to do is I have to pull this, and then we have to run like heck to get to where that latch was that just opened. There is a door on the left there. All that's in there is a laudanum and a tinderbox. There's not... I don't even think there's a note in there for some story content. This is timed, though. So if you take too long to get over here, it will close off. And now we're being chased by one of these again. Except that there's not really a latch that we can use. You can't really see it. Over there is a doorway that we need. What I need to do is distract this thing with some flesh. And what it's going to do is it's going to eat the flesh. What the flesh is going to do is hopefully distract it long enough for me to get down here and crank this open with one of the most inefficient valves that I have ever seen. Alright, let me go on up. Let's just get you about half open. And the problem that's going to happen here is if you're not careful with it, that thing actually will prioritize you over food. Those meats don't last forever, they only last for a little bit. And as soon as those are empty, it'll go after you. Oh, it's locked with a simple lock to go to the archive tunnels, that's right. We use the needle, open the lock, easy enough. Something large brushed against his leg, and he felt himself being dragged along by the current of the beast. He pushed himself above the surface. Help, he cried as the ocean swallowed him again. Oh, and we're back in the water. That's just wonderful. Yeah, so we'd have to just run like hell. The water monster is chasing us, and I think the one that's in here is actually, it's a larger version of the one that was just in the last area. And we can't hide on top of boxes from this one, so we just have to run. And if we don't close the doors behind us, it will catch up with us, and it will kill us. Oop, come on. Yeah, come on, let's keep going. And I think one more, yeah, right past all of this. And then I'll hang out here just for a second so you can see it coming. But yeah, this is a much larger version that's going to be a real pain in the neck, because I think it will actually one-hit kill us. You know what, yeah, I'm not even going to waste my time. I don't know if it's just stuck, if it's like being slow or what. Yeah, let's go into the back hull. He felt himself being hoisted out of the ocean. The lacquered hull of SS Hortensia glittered in the soothing warm yellow light of a setting sun. He turned his head to the calm ocean reaching towards the coast of Portugal and thought, is this another dream? That little story has a lot to it, actually. You might have noticed that, so that's told from Daniel's perspective. He fell overboard, and something large carried him away, but it didn't kill him. It's sort of implied that the Shadow at that time didn't want to kill Daniel. Instead, it was just trying to help him, but not in a way that could cause problems for the orb. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a little bit more of a lore talk next time. I'm going to end this video here. Next video, we're going to be exploring the back hall and going through a few areas, another actually really infamous area right through there, and a few other doorways and entrances that lead to other rooms. So, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you next time.